to Ausable Valley Disc Golf. I'm Alex, and it is time for my 2023 spring in the bag. We're going to start with my putters, of which I have plenty. We'll start out with my putting putters. I'm going to be switching back and forth between Lunas. I've got these gold stamp Lunas, and I also have some black stamped Lunas. I can't decide which ones feel better in the hands right now, so I'm going to be switching back and forth throughout most of the season. I'm going to be carrying all four down to Idlewild, which we will be shooting here in the coming week, and so you'll see a bunch of switching back and forth during that trip. But on to throwing putters. I've also got a throwing Luna in the ESP plastic, the 2022 Tour Series ESP Luna. And this one, I'm not sure if it's going to stay in my bag or not. I've got a couple of them that I'm switching between, trying to find the correct stability for that. And finally, I have an ESP Zone, a nice Discraft stamp on it. This one I got from, I believe, Disc Baron, but this one I'm also not sure if it's going to stay in the bag or not. Currently trying to find a couple zones that I'm feeling confident in after losing one of my good ones. After that, we'll move on to the mids that are shoved in here. Start with most overstable, my ESP Malta. This one has been in the bag for at least 6 months, and I don't plan on taking it out of the bag. It's very true to its flight. It doesn't really like to flip up, and it'll hold whatever angle I put it on. Mostly use it for longer shots that kind of move to the left, but it's not going to dump to the left. After that, I've got my Buzz OS. I typically use this for forehand mid-range shots. I don't really use it on backhand. Just not really a disc that I've used a lot, but it is still a vital part of my bag. Then we move on to my ESP Flex Buzz. I've been trying out the ESP Flexes, and I'm really liking the feel of them. This one will pop up to flat, ride straight, finish straight, and not really move right or left off of that line. Then we'll move on to my Buzz SS, also in the ESP plastic. Everything I have in my bag is ESP plastic. This one I will use, put it on a little bit of hyzer, let it flip over, and pan to the right. It's really a niche shot that I use it for. I don't really use it a lot. But for anything more understable than that, I use a sole. I'll typically use this for rollers, but sometimes I'll throw it on anhyzer and let it hold that line to the right. I don't really use it other than that. I don't use it for hyzer flips or anything like that. For that, I typically use a fairway driver. So we'll move on to the fairways. Start with the most overstable again. My Captain's Raptor. I'm actually really liking the feel of the ESP Captain's Raptors. I tried out the Z Captain's Raptors a couple of years back, and I wasn't liking the feel of them. I wasn't liking the stability of them. But these ones feel nice in the hand, a little bit softer, and a little bit straighter. They're not as dumpy and overstable. Then we'll move on to my ESP Flex Raptor. This one, I love it. It feels exactly like my Z Raptor from last year. I can throw it on hyzer, let it flip up. I can throw it straight and it'll hold straight. Or I can throw it on hyzer and it'll hold that hyzer as well. Then we'll go on to my Onyx. Super beefy, super beefy, very overstable. I haven't really had an Onyx in the bag that's quite like this one. Most of my Onyxes were a flip up disc. This one will definitely hold whatever angle I put it on, and if I put it on that flex angle, it'll fight out of it and start to come back towards the end of its flight. Then we got my Athena. This one is one of the first fairway drivers other than a Raptor that I actually feel comfortable forehanding. I can put it on a slight hyzer for a forehand, let it flip up, and it'll even kind of flip over a little bit and then come out of it. But for backhands, it is very true to its flight. If you put it on a little bit of anhyzer, it'll hold it. If you put it on a little bit of hyzer, it'll hold it. It's not really something that's going to be super flippy and super overstable, get out of its flight type shot for me. Then we'll move on to my Reaper, another underutilized disc I would say. I can put it flat and it'll go straight, but that's really the only shot I throw it for. I don't try and flip it. I don't try and put it on massive anhyzer shots. Something I could probably start trying here in the next few weeks. Then we'll move on to my Undertaker. This one's another one I started to try out in that ESP Flex. Another one that holds true to its flight. This one I use more for anhyzer shots though. Not as overstable as I'd like anymore, but that comes with getting a higher arm speed as well. Then we'll move on to my Stalker. This one I don't throw as often as I would like to, and I probably should because there are a lot of shots that would call for it. Really likes to hold an anhyzer line. If I put it on hyzer, it'll flip over to it. It doesn't like to fight out of it towards the end of the flight. Something I should probably be using while we're down there at Idlewild. And finally, my Heat. This one I use for rollers. This is my main roller disc. I don't really use it for anything other than rollers. And we'll move on to my fast speed drivers. Starting with my most overstable, I've got an ESP Force. This one's another hyzer shot. I can get it to flip up, but other than that, it's mostly the same type of shot whenever I pull it out of the bag. Then we'll move on to the Venom. I have not thrown this yet. I've thrown a Venom before, but it was the older Venom, so look for a disc review on this one coming out pretty soon here. But this disc, I'm hoping its hyzer flips to flat, does not flip over. I've heard a lot of really good things about this run of Venoms, and I'm really looking forward to throwing it. Then we've got the Zeus. This is the first time I've had a Zeus in my bag for more than 2 months, I would say. It's my go-to distance driver out of the bag. It's hard to explain. I really like how stable it is, but it's not to the point where it's a dumping disc. It flips up to flat real nice, rides straight for a long time, and then finishes at a really good angle that I like. We'll move on to the Crank. The Crank is something I introduced to my bag last year, and I really like how it flies. This is the only one I've thrown. It's been in my bag for about a year, and slightly more understable than the Zeus, but still a very vital part of my bag. Moving into more understable stuff, I've got my ESP Nuke that I got on our Detroit trip last year. This one, when I first started throwing it, would flip up to flat, ride straight, finish just like my Zeus does now, but now it is more of a flip over and hold an anhyzer line. So it's not used as much as it used to be, but it is still pretty useful in my bag. And finally, I've got my Nuke SS. This is for my long distance anhyzer shot, something that I can really put on hyzer and let it flip up and fly for a long distance while still finishing off to the right hand side for me. It's something that I don't come across very often because most courses are designed for a right-hander, something that John is not very fond of, but It is something that I do hope to throw a few times on a couple courses coming up. Other than that, that is my spring in the bag. Look forward to our fall in the bag updates. A lot of the discs will probably still be the same, but we might have a few different ones in there. Please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.